Most of us, if not all of us, at some point has needed or has known a family member that has either needed an ambulance or a firefighter in a time of need. From the time of the first volunteer firefighters in 1736 until now, men and eventually women put their lives on the line to save those lives of others. These men and women are exceptional and are truly heroes in this sense. These men and women put themselves in harm's way for very little, if any, sort of compensation. They don't do this because they have to, they do it because they want to. Volunteer firefighters go through numerous hours of training to be able to do the jobs they do. It takes a toll on a person's body, but they still choose to do it anyway. These men and women will run into a burning building to try to save a person without thinking twice what might happen to them. There are several deaths a year for firefighters, yet these men and women still do it because they want to help protect their community. Just last week, a volunteer crew was on the scene of a car accident on the interstate when they were facing danger themselves. Their squad was hit by oncoming vehicles, and thankfully it was just the squad and not the crew. This is what community doesn't see in the eyes of a volunteer. These men and women are like another family to one another. And anything happening to any of them would be devastating, not just for one another, but for the community themselves. So besides protecting their community, they protect one another. Volunteer emergency personnel will do anything for their community, even when it seems they are against them. Most volunteers have jokes about when tones will go off, and words that are off limits. Volunteers just give up meals because a person needed help and they got called out just as they sat down for dinner. Think you're going to get some sleep? Think again. Just as you lay down and get to that sound asleep phase, tones go off and they get called to action. Oh, and don't think about saying the dreaded Q word. Yes, the word quiet. It is like a jinx to most emergency personnel. These men and women don't mind though because they love what they do. These men and women who give up everything to give back to the community are not given as much credit as they deserve. So let's all just take a minute to thank our volunteer firefighters and EMTs, and think about what our community would be like without them. Next time that they are not fast enough, or make you put out a fire that has gotten too big or too safe for anyone, just to think about where the community would be if we didn't have them to save our lives and put out those fires that happen in our community. Most of these men and women have family and work outside of being a volunteer in their community. Volunteer emergency personnel are truly brave and honorable people who deserve a thank you every now and then because they won't ask for it. They love what they do, and that's why they do it. Take a minute to remember those who have lost their lives while protecting a community they love. All volunteer personnel deserve respect and support from their community.
Are you done?
Now that you have that Afghan on there,
You can trim it.
I don't know how.
You should have said, for an example, 9/11. All those firefighters who lost their lives. Oh, that would have just...
Do you think it was good though?
It's still running.